got as the tight end one for Dynasty?
This is tough because I think like with Dynasty, there's so many different ways to play it. I'll lean towards youth a little bit, kind of talking about some of these. I think youth is important in Dynasty. I think that depending on your roster construction, like if you're contending, Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce should be your tight end one and tight end two. But talking Dynasty rankings overall, the top three for me is Trey McBride, Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts, and Dalton Kincaid.
Awesome. Yeah, you actually answered a question that I had written down for you. I really have been curious when it comes to these players, how much you're weighing that 2024 production versus just the remaining amount of seasons they have left to play. Like Kelce he just doesn't have that many seasons left to play. So it's just kind of one of those tough spots. So it was Dalton Kincaid. You had McBride one, huh? Okay.
I did. Yeah. I'm a big fan of
right.
McBride. They're all so flat for me. Like all three of these guys are very good.
Yeah.
But McBride, like he's got the draft capital, he got the breakout. If you look, his targets per route run were actually higher than Kincaid and Laporta last year. Of course, that was without Marvin Harrison, so we'll see how that impacts him. But these three, and then Kyle Pitts is in that tier for me as well, which I'm still holding on to hope for Kyle Pitts. But you look at his metrics, like what he did on a per route run basis, his efficiency, his usage, all that tells us that he's an elite tight end that has just been hamstrung by poor quarterback play. So I still have him considered as a tier one dynasty tight end.
Awesome. Yeah, I ended up putting Pitts in a tier of his own. That's how I dealt with it. But you got to have some conviction. So I agree with you.
He's younger than Kincaid.
Yeah.
He's still one of the younger guys out there, which is crazy to think going into year 4.
Yeah, and he's got 2 quarterbacks. Pitts should be fine. And he had a slight injury, but also Laporta had a slight injury. They're all going to be fine and bounce back. So, I'm good with this. For me, the way I do it is if you're a top 2 target in your offense, then I like you. So even though Kincaid could be the number 1 in his offense, I still think McBride, even if somehow Marvin is the number 1 year 1 as a rookie and McBride's the number 2, I still like McBride as a number 2 target on an offense. So I like any of these guys. And it's kind of my philosophy through the next tier as well. Who do you have here? Is it going straight to the veterans?
Exactly. Yeah. It's TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, George Kittle. That's tier 2 for me. And all these guys, TJ Hawkinson's not old by any means. And if he was healthy, he'd be in the tier above. I mean, still just 27 years old, which is young for a tight end. We typically see them well into their late 20s, early 30s, still being productive. But that ACL injury is a little bit concerning. He's probably going to miss, at least half of this year, and we'll see how he can bounce back from that. But Kittle's in there for me as well. 30 years old. He's still going to have a couple of years of good production ahead of him. And we're seeing his role change pretty dramatically. Still leading the league in yards per route run like he does almost every single year, but we've seen his route participation go up for 5 consecutive seasons now. He actually had the 3rd highest route participation of any tight end last year. So now that he's getting older, he's running more routes and he's blocking less, and that's what you want to see for fantasy.
Yeah, they want to keep him healthy for the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And I'm a sucker for all of this Netflix receiver hype, and he was awesome on there.
Yeah, I love that show. I thought quarterback was good too, but receiver was so much better.
Awesome. All right, next tier. So I've got Ingram and Ferg, and I think Njoku in this tier. Who you got in this tier?
So I've actually got this guy. He's in a tier by himself because I don't know where to put him. Brock Bowers.
There we go.
And he could be really good. Could go the way of a lot of other highly touted tight end prospects and just kind of faceplant after his first year. I don't know what to expect, but I'm okay taking him immediately after. You've got the really young kind of blue chip guys at the top. You got these productive veterans in tier 2. And then Brock Bowers, I don't want to lump him with Cole Kmet or Evan Ingram. There's so many other guys that I just outright prefer Brock Bowers to. So he's kind of in his own mini tier right here. He's easily going to be moving up or down after this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Not too much to say about him. I do think year 1, a lot of receivers around Devontae Adams just don't get the ball a lot historically, but it's a dynasty. And we saw also on receiver, Adams is going to be out of there pretty soon. So, all right, next tier. All right, who's in your next tier?
Evan Ingram at the top of the tier, and then David Njoku, Jake Ferguson, and Cole Kmet. So this is kind of a weird mix. We got some veterans. We still got some younger guys as well. Evan Ingram's obviously getting up there, but he's the most productive of the bunch. David Njoku still a little younger than I think people realize because he came into the league so young, but I think the cat's out of the bag. I mean, Njoku could easily find his way in that tier 2 if he finishes, if he can go off in 2024 the way he did in the second half of 2023, he's shooting up those ranks as well. Ferguson and Kmet, they both concern me a little bit. Ferguson's production was so heavily weighed by touchdowns, it's pretty tough to replicate. And then Cole Kmet, in a vacuum, I think he is such a talented tight end. But right now, Gerald Everett's there, and we know that Shane Waldron loves Gerald Everett. Outside of that, we got Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze ahead of him on the pecking order. I think he's a very, very good player, but the next couple of years, it's going to be pretty tough for him to carve out a meaningful role.
Yeah, absolutely. So just full disclosure, before you came on, I just went through my ranks one more time, and I was looking at Komet, and all I'm thinking is he's going to be Caleb Williams' tight end. Eventually, he's going to be the main guy. I know Everett is there, but they had already paid Komet a couple seasons ago. They love him. He's the prototypical size of a tight end. We've seen him have big games with other quarterbacks. So if Caleb Williams is the guy, I don't see the Bears just letting this guy go. Everett's just on a 1-year deal and older, so I don't mind.
They got him under contract through 2029, I believe, or 2028. Okay. Like they gave him a huge extension, so I think he's got a longer, or he's going to be there for the entire duration of Caleb Williams' rookie contract. My fear is that Roma Dunze is also going to be there for that entire rookie contract, and DJ Moore, my guess, he's still relatively young. I think once his contract's up, they're going to want to extend him. Yeah. So my fear is that even over the next 5 years, the best case scenario for Komet is still being the third guy on the team.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes, but don't forget about this guy. Everyone, I don't think anyone thinks about him anymore, but we'll see. So let's roll through the rest of these tight ends. Who do you got in tier 5?
So tier 5 for me, Pat Freiermuth is a top that tier. Nice. Big fan of him, and it seems like he's just kind of the forgotten guy after he was injured last year. But I expect Arthur Smith to draw up quite a few more plays for Pat Freiermuth and kind of remind us of who he is. Dallas Goedert's in this tier as well. This tier gets kind of gross. So, I feel like once you we're already just kind of at the hopes and prayers tier really quickly with tight end. After Dallas Goedert, though, I've got Isaiah Likely. Might be a little bit too high on him, but I think he's a very good player. And then Ben Sinnott, Michael Mayer, and Luke Musgrave.
Sweet. All right. I do like
Ben
that.
Sinnott's there. Is he? Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Yeah, right. We got him.
Cool.
A little Ricky fresh face there. Yeah, Likely and Mayer, I ended up just moving into a tier down because since they're backups, but I do see Likely actually being closer to getting away from Mark Andrews than Mayer. Mayer's is kind of screwed, to be honest, for a little bit, but we'll see how they run that. So let's go ahead and move on, and I'll just say I do have Schultz in this tier as well, behind Pat Freiermuth, or actually I'm right neck and neck with Freiermuth, but and behind Goddard. But anyway, we'll go ahead and move off.
If I don't have any of these guys that we talked about, this is when I'm just picking up Taysom Hill and just plugging him in my tight end spot and just praying that he can have a boom week, because like once you get past Brock Bowers, Evan Ingram, Njoku, everybody gets pretty shaky. You got kind of 10 tight ends that you feel okay about, and then outside of that, it's just a wasteland.
Yeah, it really is tough, man. And in the Scott Fish Bowl, you really cleaned up. I got Taysom Hill over there, because I was low on quarterback and maybe I could throw him in there. And he does a couple extra things, so you never know. Really, all you want out of a touchdown out of a tight end is a touchdown. So if you can get that, then you're pretty much fine at that tight end position. I got away with the Jonnu Smith blow up week last year and won a week off of that. So you just never know.
Yeah, Jonnu Smith. I didn't see his picture up there, but Jonnu Smith would be in my next tier for sure.
Yeah, and historically, Miami doesn't use those guys, but you never know.
I also haven't had a guy like Jonnu, a guy with that yards after the catchability.